Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 33 of the Saturday Morning Gaming Show. It is August 7th, 2021. I am your co-host, Thefatwizard, joined today by...
Alamaxia.
And Lobos.
And today we're taking a look at Metal Gear Solid, released on the PlayStation October 21st, 1998, and that was in North America. Mm-hmm. And it was a very incredible pleasure for me to play the game. I played like the first maybe 30, 40 minutes of it before and never beaten it. I know Lobos, Alamaxia, you two have beaten it. So I'm super excited to chat about my experiences in the game and then hearing some maybe alternate things that you guys might know about, because that's one thing that's very traditional with the Metal Gear series is there's a lot of like weird Easter eggs and interactions that you might not know, but they're very fun to play around with.
And a lot of different ways you can go about the same area. Just a lot of different strategies.
Yeah, you have the Lobos strategy, which we've talked about in the past, which is run around and shoot everything.
Yep.
And then you have the My strategy, which is try to stealth and then get caught and then run around and shoot everything. So we're starting off here with a lengthy cutscene, and this was amazing on the PlayStation. You know, it starts off with this very high-tech, or I guess like high jargon scenario, right? And that's something that's traditional with the Metal Gear series, is they use a lot of acronyms and a lot of terminology that you might not know about, but they're all rooted in, military or, maybe theology or other lore that just sounds really cool. Walk me through what you guys are thinking about when you're seeing this really cool scene of Solid Snake going in through the submarine, kind of infiltrating Shadow Moses.
I mean, personally, this looks just like the intro to a James Bond movie or something, where James Bond is coming in the wetsuit or something and like sneaking into a place that he's not supposed to be, but with all the kind of military talk that's going around, you're like it's setting yourself up for some sort of less of a still stealth mission, but with a lot more backing to it necessarily than just somebody working on their own. So.
Yeah, they're really setting the scene for everything. This game was far deeper in its story than I remembered. Because whenever I played through this when I was younger, I think I skipped every cutscene and didn't read almost any dialogue.
Oh, no.
So playing through it this time and really paying attention and everything, all of the cutscenes, they were great. For PlayStation, while the graphics, they're PlayStation graphics, like you said, it looks great. Things fit well. To me, the actors, the scene, nothing was out of place in this game.
Yeah, it's super cool, and that what we were seeing was actually just the attract screen, and then after that, the little sequence of infiltrating Shadow Moses, it actually replays that scene a little bit, and then you can start the game. I played on normal difficulty. There's easy, normal, hard, and then I think Big Boss. Big Boss is locked. But both hard and Big Boss, you can't... Is Big Boss the name?
Extreme on this one, I think.
Extreme, yes, thank you. And then I guess both hard and extreme, you can't use the radar, which is quite tricky.
Yeah.
In particular, because the camera angle is almost always, down, like above Snake, looking down, as opposed to if you think about traditional stealth games now that are third person, and you have a camera that's behind the back, you can kind of spin it around.
And what makes Extreme just a tad bit more difficult is if you're spotted, game over.
Oh no! Ooh, that's
you
rough.
gotta stealth.
Yeah. Well, I assume you still can save though, so that allows you a little bit of flexibility there.
Yeah, once you start learning all the different patrol routes and you learn some of the tricks, like one of the things you can do, especially early on in where we are right now, is stand up against a wall and knock on it with your hand, and they'll follow that sound around the corner, and that gives you a clear path to just go up towards the elevator.
Yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, you started swimming in. You're in Alaska, and at this military base called Shadow Moses, and I think my understanding is there's some sort of like nuclear research going on here, and some terrorists went rogue and they are demanding the body of Big Boss, which he's a super soldier, genetically engineered super soldier from the first game. I think the first game you actually played as Big Boss. Is that right?
You mean original Metal Gear?
Yeah, the original Metal Gear.
I actually never played, so I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I can't remember if you're a Big Boss. And also, please forgive us if we get stuff wrong here. The Metal Gear lore is extremely deep and convoluted, and so this is one playthrough here. It's very possible we're going to get a lot of stuff wrong here. But yeah, so you are sent a Solid Snake to... there's 2 missions. You have to find out if the terrorists have the ability to... you have to first find the DARPA chief, which has been captured and held hostage.
The DARPA chief.
And then... yeah, the DARPA chief. Yeah, we'll talk about the parroting here in a bit. And the second thing is you need to determine if the terrorists have the ability to use this weapon called Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
There we go. Thank you very much.
I figured you're waiting for that.
I was kind of setting that up for you.
Right, thank you.
To launch a nuclear strike against anyone. I don't think they're concerned with who. I think they just want to make sure that the U.S. isn't out there nuking people. So,
yeah.
Boy, that's for most PlayStation games, that's the entire story for an 8-hour experience, but we've just got started here. I want to hear from Alamaxia how you infiltrated Shadow Moses, because there's actually a couple ways to get in here, which is so cool.
Yeah, you can go either in the lower air duct or the upper air duct. And what I did is I started out by taking a visit to that truck that's sitting out there to pick up the SOCOM pistol. That's a nice place to pick one up early. Yep. And I ended up going through the lower duct work because I could sneak around that lower level, and the guy blocking the duct work was asleep, and I could just crawl right under him. Didn't have to.
Yeah, there's also
some
cameras there.
Yeah,
there's some cameras there, and you can use there's a chafe grenade to. I guess what it does is it clouds the area with aluminum particles or something, such that there's so much electromagnetic interference that the cameras can't really see what's going on there. And that'll actually, I think the way that works is actually the entire area is shut down. So it's not just localized.
Yeah.
So you just kind of throw your grenade anywhere and you're like, all right, I'm free from electronics for 5 seconds or so.
Yeah, it's not too long, but it's enough to, and you can keep chain tossing them, so you can just, as long as you have enough chaff grenades, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
now, one of the cool things up here that we're looking at is there's the radar up at the top right of the screen, and the radar conveys a bunch of important information. Lobos, what sort of information do we have going on here?
Well, you got positions of enemies as well as their cone of vision, which is very strict. It's like if you are just outside their cone of vision, they have no clue that you're there. So it's very forgiving in that sense.
Yeah.
But also, if you don't study their patrol patterns, you might get turned on real quick, and as soon as they catch you, even if you're sneaking up on them and you just walk forward a step too much while you're trying to grab them, then the alarm can go off and more soldiers can pour in, and it can become a mess if you're not careful. Although MGS1 is a little more forgiving, I think you can eventually.
It is very much so. Yeah, once you get spotted, the time for the base to kind of come down from high alert is probably only a minute or so. Going back to the radar, though, there's also some other things. You'll see that the cameras are all in yellow, and those typically, they do stay still, but then they pivot to the left and the right. And so you can actually use that to get underneath the camera while it's facing one direction, and then wait for it to go to the other direction that you want to go back to the other direction, and then you can kind of like skirt around the camera that way. So it's fun. I imagine this game is very difficult in hard mode, though, not having that information, right?
I don't know how... Do you guys know if it is different as far as placements of like cameras and stuff? Because...
I don't think there's any different placement of anything.
Okay. Because that makes sense to me. Like on a second playthrough, it's like, oh, I remember the tough parts. I remember there's cameras here. So you would know ahead of time to like look out for them, or at least even just deal with them. Mm-hmm. So that sounds like a fun challenge.
You have to go to a lot of first-person view and a lot of putting your back against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we are about, I'd say like 15 to 20 minutes. If you're kind of playing casually, it probably takes about 15, 20 minutes to find the DARPA chief. Does anyone remember his name?
Donald. Isn't it Donald?
Donald.
Maybe not. DARPA chief.
Wrong, because this isn't the DARPA chief. Spoilers for later on. I got you guys.
All right, okay. Spoil. All right, it's Donald Anderson, by the way.
Donald Anderson. Okay, so
Donald Octopus.
At the very beginning of the game, Donald Octopus is good. At the very beginning of the game, when they're introducing your mission, it says that there's this unit called Foxhound, and it goes through a couple different members like Sniper Wolf, and it's got Octo
Decoy Octopus.
Yeah.
Psycho Mantis.
Vulcan Raven.
Yeah. Mm. So you're gonna find out a little bit later. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but the person that was the DARPA chief that you just went into prison and he gave you the key code and then subsequently died of a mysterious illness, which seems to be maybe like shadowy organization. That is actually Octo Decoy.
Decoy Octopus.
Decoy
Octopus.
Yeah.
First name Decoy.
First name Decoy.
Second
and more importantly, we meet MERYL.
MERYL.
And she breaks out of prison, and then you have like a little gunfight section. You kind of shoot some guards. That's the weird dichotomy of Metal Gear, though, right? It's a stealth game, but they also put you into these forced combat sequences, so you can't really play through it all the way stealth.
I think there are ways to do it like full, maybe not full non-lethal, but without weapons, like because technically those guys that run in you could take out with CQC, but I don't know.
That's something they implemented, I think, starting in MGS3.
Okay.
Is the ability to actually, instead of killing them with shooting out their hit points, you can use like non-lethal takedowns.
Yeah. Couldn't you do that in 2? I think you can put him to sleep in 2 and like throw him in a locker.
Okay. Oh, that's true.
Yeah, you can totally move them around in 2. Yeah.
Shove nerds in lockers.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a big difference that I forgot about this game is that when you do kill someone, their corpse just disappears. And in other ones, you actually have to hide the corpses. So I was towards the end, I was getting a little bit more gun happy and just kill this guy because he might have a ration on him.
Yeah. Oh, we're moving past here.
Yeah, we're moving real quick. This game's gonna, we're blowing through this. I mean, we got an hour to cram a Kojima story in here. I don't know how we do it, but
yeah.
So now we meet Kenneth Baker, who's the Arms Tech president. He's the other person that's been captured, and he looks like he's in something straight out of Saw the movie, right? He's chained up with all these wires, and then there's C4 that was rigged to that, and we meet good old Ocelot,
Revolver Ocelot.
Decoy Ocelot. I mean, yeah.
I love this guy's mustache, though.
It's great. Also, his gun twirling skills, of course. Yes.
The funny thing about this guy is I've played Metal Gear 3 and 4 and 5, and I loved those games, and then I came back to 1, and when I saw Ocelot, I was like, oh, it's Liquid Snake!
Whoops.
No, that's a big long story of how he looks like Liquid Snake. But yeah, Liquid Snake looks like this guy in Metal Gear Solid 4, and it kind of threw me for a little confusing bit for a little bit.
Yeah, for reasons. That's funny though to not have that knowledge ahead of time, work backwards through it. Yeah. This fight is it's not too bad, but there's certain tactics in this game you have to learn. Like if you're shooting with like the SOCOM pistol and you tap shoot instead of like kind of try and aim like yourself, you can kind of mash the button and Snake will kind of auto aim towards an enemy, and so you can use that to your advantage when you're like if somebody's off screen. And you can just kind of mash the button, and it will sort of auto aim to whoever you're firing at. So this fight against Ocelot is just running around in this big square room, and if he gets a line of sight on you, he'll likely take a shot. But it's kind of cool. They show you his ammo, and you can see when he needs to reload and stuff. And so you try and trade shots while dodging his.
I think I used that when he was out of ammo. That's when I tried to line up my shot with him. I don't know if you guys were more successful in shooting him when he was.
I was really aggressive, and I would just run like right next to him practically. He can be faster than you, but you can catch up to him, and then just as soon as he's turning around, I would just like mash, and Snake would hit him, and then he would start running again, just kind of rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I would just run the opposite direction he would to always catch him on the other side, and same
That's true,
thing,
yeah.
just mash SOCOM a little bit, he takes takes a hit. But I love the detail of how he's very boastful about his revolver and how he loves it,
Yeah.
and it's very clear he has 6 shots on it, and like you were saying, was they have the ammo counter that goes down, and he has to take a bit of extra time to reload. But what's nice for us is it takes us no time to reload if you just double tap R1.
Yeah.
That was extremely handy. You put a couple shots out and then double tap R1, and there was never any like mid combat reload for us.
Yep.
Yeah, because R1 will unequip your weapon slot, and so if you quickly unequip your gun and then re-equip it, it comes back fully charged. Now, I don't know if this is the first time Kojima breaks the wall, but it is one of the most funny portions here. So you save Kenneth Baker, and he's kind of sitting on the floor there. And you basically learn you need to contact MERYL. And Kenneth is like, yeah, there we go. Thank you, Colonel. I mean, thank you, Solid Snake. So Kenneth, he knows MERYL's frequency. And so he's like, oh, okay, let me tell you her frequency. And he's like, I forgot. And then you're like, what? He's like, oh, it's on the back of the CD case.
Yeah.
And it's, and by the way, I did have the CD case.
Nice.
And I did actually get to look it up, and it is there. But
Nice.
did you guys, how did you guys figure out, did you guys like look online, or did you already know the frequency, or how did you figure it out?
My first playthrough, I think people mentioned it, because I didn't have the CD. I was playing a digital copy. And you might be able to go into the manual, but I'm not even sure if that shows you the back of the CD. But yeah, I ended up just either asking in chat or looking it up.
I looked at the back of my CD case.
Nice. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So
Kojima does that quite a bit in these games, even to the point where I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but there's a torture scene, and he'll be like, repeatedly mash the circle button to regain your stamina or something like that. So they will tell you like, oh, press the X button or press R2 in game, and it's kind of silly, but I think they kind of make that work. All right, so man, we're
trying to
so
get
quickly.
out of the tank hangar right now, and we're trying to basically get to the next area. But in order to go over there, we have to get past a bunch of these red lasers that are kind of moving up and down, and they're sensors. If trip one, it kind of airlock seals off, and a bunch of gas rolls in. But I saw
go for it.
I saw you're using cigarettes, which is one of the items that they start you out with in the game. And when you use cigarettes, it's really not apparent what they're used for, because you use them and your health slowly diminishes. But when you use them near like those lasers, you can see where they are. Or if you have the thermal goggles, throw those on, and you could see where they are as well.
Yeah, and that's straight from the first Metal Gear on NES.
Nice.
I think you actually did start with cigarettes, and you could use, I think, even thermal goggles to detect the lasers. So that's really cool. It's cool to see that in this 3D game now. And then you go outside. So you've been almost for the past couple hours, you've been inside, and you finally get back to the outside, and it's all snowy, and there's mines there. And you're contacted by a mysterious individual telling you, use a mine detector. And I was like, great, I don't have one. Did you guys have a mine detector at this point?
I did.
Yeah. I knew where
I found
all the things were, but yeah, so.
Okay.
You could also use your thermal goggles.
But
Okay.
Do you know how to get rid of those mines that are on the ground?
Yeah, I do. You gotta
acquire
crawl on the
them
ground.
even, yeah. Yeah.
Crawl on the ground, yeah. And we're facing off against the first boss. I guess it's the second boss battle, where we're fighting a tank, which is. Now, this is the thing that confused me, because Raven, one of the Fox members, he kind of sticks his head out and taunts you, but then you don't actually see him for the entire fight.
He's piloting the tank, I believe, and then there's a gunner on top who will shoot at you. So once you disable the tank, you just kind of move on, and then Vulcan Raven pops out, and then he starts
there he is, yeah.
talking his stuff.
And I guess what I did is I just threw grenades on top of the tank. How do you guys kill this thing?
I think I rotated chaff, and the tank would actually stop, and you can just
Oh,
throw a grenade on
nice.
top. So yeah, I just chaff, grenade on top, chaff, grenade on
I'd
top.
imagine
Yep.
you could also use C4 in that situation.
I think
too.
so too, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if C4 would work because C4 you have
Really?
to place on the ground and you have
Yeah.
to deal damage up at the top
yeah.
of it. I
That's
think
true,
grenades
okay.
are the way you're supposed to kill it.
Okay.
they definitely give you a bunch of grenades and chaff around so that
Yeah.
you have a hint, but also some ammo.
And with the boss fights, I believe I noticed this at least with a boss fight later on, that if you need a special ammo to beat it, if you run out of that ammo somewhere on the battlefield, a new one will spawn.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and then we moved on to it looked like a missile storage location
Yeah.
of sort.
This is
and
the
I think they say
nuclear
if you-
warhead storage
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
And they say if you fire, don't fire. That's bad news. I think that's another place where they'll lock it down. Is that right? Will they lock it down and
Yep.
gas you?
If you alert, yeah, and you cannot shoot, you can't equip anything that shoots because there's a bunch of decommissioned nuclear warheads, so you don't want to, leak
Yeah.
radiation everywhere and cause issues.
Now, it's worth noting we're in an area with a bunch of doors, and they do this quite a bit throughout the game, is they've got different security clearances. It's so satisfying because as you progress through the game, you'll be given higher security cards, and then you can go back to those previous areas and access some loot that you have not had the opportunity to get in the past. So I like that. It's not I wouldn't say it's a Metroidvania, but it sort of has some of those trappings, right? Where you're like,
Right.
okay, I got this key card. Let's go over to this place that I couldn't access before.
They
I thought that was
definitely
cool.
maximize the use of their space
Yeah.
to make you stay in the game as long as possible. Because I feel like there was one time where you had to go from like area 3 all the way back to area 1 at one point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at
Yeah,
least
I think you have to do that to get the sniper rifle, right?
yeah, at least like 2 times they really make you backtrack to get whatever you're missing that you can now access.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, so now we got another holdover from the first Metal Gear, which is there's a remote control missile that you get, the Nikita launcher, right? Alamaxia, walk us through this room here, because it's got kind of multiple dangers, right?
Yeah, this room is it's filled with gas that's trying to kill you, poison gas. The floor is electrified, so don't step on the floor. And there's cameras everywhere that are they're turret cameras. So if you are seen by them, they'll immediately start firing.
Or if your missile that you're trying to hit
Yeah.
the junction box is seen, they'll try to fire at
Yeah,
that too.
so you have to shoot this missile while standing in the safe spot just outside of the door, and direct your missile all the way down this corridor, around a couple corners, and then avoiding the side of these turret cameras to hit an electrical control panel to knock out the electrical floor, so Snake can then walk into the poison room and get to the other side.
Well, there's also a gas mask here.
Yep.
So,
So yeah,
but-
I knew that, so I went and grabbed the gas
Yeah.
mask before doing the Nikita, and then you have a lot more time to without having to worry about choking while you're controlling it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you could stand outside of this room. I thought you had to stand in the gas while shooting that missile.
I think
So
you
I
do.
was kinda
That-
under
but-
time pressure.
I think you do, but that's what I mean. Is like you can get the gas mask before,
Oh, I see, I
and
see.
then equip. Yeah,
Okay.
just to save some
That's
time.
cool. Yeah. And so this is another situation where there's a lot of storage rooms, and you don't have to go and get the majority of the stuff. In fact, like, you don't need the gas mask to win the game or the mine detector. I think you do need the Nikita. No, wait, do you need Nikita missile to win? I don't think so.
I don't
You
think
need
so.
the Stinger missile.
Stinger.
But yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cool though, because if I would have missed some of these things, I just would have had to deal with challenges in a different way. There's a lot of different ways to solve these things. So, oh man,
So our
let's
whole
keep on coming.
our whole thing was I think we contacted MERYL, and she said to find whatever Hal's position is here, a mech specialist guy or a
Hal Emmerich.
weapon specialist guy, or to try and get some information about Metal Gear potentially.
AKA Otacon, because he's
Yes.
a big otaku.
Yes,
He's
yes,
such
he
a
is.
nerd. You meet him, he relieves himself on the floor while kind of shaking away from this cyborg ninja called Gray Fox. Gray Fox was, if I remember my Metal Gear history correct, or lore correct, I think Gray Fox was one of the soldiers that got captured trying to infiltrate the original Metal Gear base. I might have some of that mixed up. But anyway, he's a cyborg ninja now because of course.
Of course.
And,
well, he was
thought
to be dead. But then I think he was dead, was he not? And then he was revived by.
You never die in the Metal Gear.
No.
You just get, you get controlled by a varying degree of nanomachines.
You just get turned into a ninja, man. That's awesome.
He was basically on the verge of death, and then the government used another soldier's body to basically, as his double, to say, now he's dead, and then they took him and experimented on him for like 5 years.
Oh, geez. And then we have this Cyborg Ninja here, which can actually turn invisible on occasion. So this boss fight's not too bad. It kind of starts off against, the ninja. You do some hand-to-hand combat, and he has multiple stages and escalations of the boss battle here.
Mm-hmm.
It gets to a point where he'll start turning invisible, and then you have to find him and then punch him. And then eventually he'll start doing things where he'll turn invisible and then teleport close to you. And I think you have to wait for him to attack and then counterattack. I think if you try to attack him right away, he'll punch you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I find running around in circles is very helpful in this fight because he'll appear and then punch it where you were in the circle, and you're already turning back to approach him. But I think my favorite part of the fight is at the very beginning. If you're using guns, I think he will auto dodge all of it, and then
he uses like his
he deflects it, yeah. And so you're like, what's going on? And then you punch him, and then it plays like a little cutscene, and he's like, now we can fight, hand to hand, like true combatants or whatever.
That was really cool how they force you to go back to just the hand to hand, and it's good that they do because being good at hand-to-hand is needed much later.
Oh, yeah. And then at the very end of that fight, he has this weird bubble. I don't know what this bubble... Is that just a damage shield, or is that some sort of electricity thing?
Yeah, it almost seems like his suit is, like, overloading or something and causing this kind of AoE, pulse around it that damages you. Mm-hmm. And you can either shoot him or... I actually punched him. You wait for the bubble to go down a bit, and then you can punch him. But, yeah.
All right. So after we kill him, do we kill him?
Oh my God.
I'm gonna go with no on that one, but we'll see.
He kind of escapes through I think one of the doors where he just like jumps up through the ceiling tiles. I can't remember which, but he did run away.
Very anime-ish, right? By the way, this game is, I'd say, heavily inspired by anime, including the mecha mechazoids they have later on. Metal Gear Rex. So we meet Otacon here, and he's kind of a coward, but he wants to help you out. And the benefit he's got this octo camouflage. I think there's one of 5 prototype suits that he has, and he can just make himself pretty much invisible. So he'll be able to help you out throughout the game, bring you some supplies, and give you some reconnaissance. He's
also inspired by anime because he's a scientist, and his whole thing was he wanted to build robots like in his Japanese animes, and that's kind of why he's a specialist on Metal Gear. But he never intended for anything bad, like all scientists, right? But turns out he helped make a nuclear launching mech walker. Oops,
that's my bad.
Whoops.
Well,
Alamaxia, did you?
I was going to say his excuse is that he wasn't a part of the weapon side of it. He was just in charge of designing the mech itself. So he had no idea that it was going to be armed with nuclear tech. He just knew it had a railgun.
Yeah.
Just knew it had a railgun.
I mean, it's pretty cool. If you're going to have a mech without a railgun, what's the point?
So Otacon just gave us a security card for level 4, but Alamaxia, did you catch what happened on the codec just a minute ago?
I didn't.
Okay. So it's actually probably worth mentioning about the codex, and I'm going to let you, Alamaxia, follow up on that, but we were chatting with MERYL, who we know that she's disguised herself as a soldier, and it looks like she might have got caught, or is is out there hiding. So we need to talk to MERYL for some more information, but we can't blow her cover. So we need to find which guard is MERYL, and then find a spot we can chat with her in private.
Right.
But Alamaxia, do you want to walk us through a little bit about the codec here and what that does?
The codec does?
Yeah, I like the.
Our codec. Yeah.
It's such a pivotal part of the game. We haven't even chatted about it yet.
Yeah. So the codec is it's kind of our little walkie-talkie that we use, our direct connection to all the different NPCs that are helping us, like Colonel Campbell, MERYL, Khan, and a few others. And it's not really walkie-talkie like Snake pulls out a walkie-talkie, but they say it does like a bone induction, I think it is, or something where it directly he can hear it inside his head. No one else outside of him can hear it. I don't know I don't know how he can talk back to them and no one can hear it.
Yeah, it just vibrates the bones, and then
he grits his jaw when he speaks. That's why he
talks like this.
But yeah, so the codec is used to gain a lot of information, and what's really fun with the codec is the different NPCs in there have a lot of different dialogues with them, and the dialogues will change based on where you are in the game, and they'll even have a lot of special dialogues for boss fights, right before, during, and right after. A lot of them will have very unique things to say. Or Mei Ling, the girl that helps you save your game, she'll often have comments about things that are going on and how people that you are trying to help are doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there's also a woman named Nastasha, is
yep,
that right?
Nastasha.
And she's the weapons expert, and I think the way that works is if you want to know about an item, you equip the item and then contact her, and she'll explain what it's used for. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool.
She's also helpful in I can't remember which fight it was. I feel like there was one of the fights, maybe it was the Vulcan Raven fight later on. Talking to her, she helped reveal like a weakness about the boss.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
You can call people a lot of times if you're having trouble with a fight, and they'll like kind of tip you off on stuff.
Yeah, we're
especially this fight. Yeah,
Psycho Mantis fight, and I actually, I already knew the secret, and I feel like it's hard to be a video gamer and not know the Psycho Mantis trick here. But I wanted to see like how you would figure it out on your own, and eventually through the codec, he does kind of tip you. The Colonel tips you off on what you need to do. Again, you have to break the fourth wall, but. Lobos, do you want to walk us through what is going on here and who we're fighting?
Well, so my first time I didn't know, so I had to I just had to go until I got that prompt from the Colonel. But you're fighting. You come in here into this office room, and MERYL's acting kind of funny. She's kind of trying to seduce Snake, and you're like, what? And it turns out Psycho Mantis is flying around and controlling her. And you don't want to kill her, so you can use. I think you can maybe even use stun grenades, but you can. I just punched her until she went unconscious.
Yeah.
And then Psycho Mantis reveals himself, and he does this little showcasing, like how he's like,
cool.
check out my psychic powers. Put your controller on the floor. Now I will move
I did it. By the way,
I
totally did it, and it moved. It's so cool.
He's a ghost, man. He's psychic. And then he'll
also read your memory card.
Yeah. Read your memory card and talk about your saves. And as soon as the fight starts, the screen goes black and it says Hideo in the top right instead of video.
It's almost like your game or your TV just lost signal.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And that
so
little
good.
Hideo screen was so perfect because my TV back then had that exact screen for like video. It just said video in that upper corner.
Yep.
And it looked identical. And that was one thing that I did finally love about Metal Gear Solid here is that they mess with your mind.
They do.
They really start to by the end of the game. It becomes a bit of a trip.
Yeah, I think.
No,
I was just gonna say. I think that first part where he tells you to look on the back of the CD case, like that was the point at which I was like, okay, all right, this game's gonna do this, and I'm all on board for it. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Now, in the Psycho Mantis fight, you can't really... I guess you actually can damage him, but not significantly, if you don't have a secret way to shoot at him, because as... obviously he can read minds, and he is reading your mind, so he knows where you're going to shoot before you actually shoot, so he dodges out of the way. You can actually still land a punch or two. I'm actually really curious to see if anyone's actually killed Psycho Mantis without the secret. And the secret is you have to plug your controller from port 1 to port 2, and then Mantis can't read your mind anymore.
That is such a good mechanic.
Yeah. And I almost want to say, like, could you get one up on the game if you just had your controller plugged into port 2 at all times?
So
like, maybe that's a speedrunning tactic.
I actually think it only works during this fight because using the digital version, I have to go into the PlayStation menus and swap it. But once the fight ended, it was like, please plug your controller back into port 1. And I couldn't control Snake. So I think outside of that, maybe you could up to this point, but it's just kind of there as a reminder.
Oh, that's so cool. So once you once you figure out the trick, he doesn't do too much. He will use telekinesis to spin some boxes around and shoot you. A couple times he takes control of MERYL throughout the fight, and I guess at the very end, he actually has MERYL put a gun up to her head, and she's kind of fighting it, and he's taunting you, and so I think you just need to knock her out again.
Yeah.
If you're not quick enough, she will fire.
And that's game over, right?
Yeah.
It does a ton of damage to her, but once she goes to 0 health, it's game over.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't realize that it just took away health. I figured it was an instant loss there. And then, like anime, there's always a redemption arc for the villain, right?
I love the backstories.
At least a backstory,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and you always kind of feel a little bit of sympathy for the person you just put down, but Psycho Mantis does help you out. He shows you a secret passage to get on to... I'm not sure where we're trying to go.
Like communication tower, right? Is that here?
Is it that?
Yeah, we're trying to get to the communications tower. We have to get through the caves where the wolves are, and then we have to face off against a sniper.
Yeah. And this is I actually didn't realize there's some strategies for making this a little bit easier. I know Lobos did it. So basically, you have to walk through a big wolf den. You get the sense that maybe you're going to face off against the sniper wolf because she seems to be sort of an animal handler of sorts there. But these wolves will attack you unless you have her scent. Or a scent of another wolf. Lobos, do you want to walk us through how you proceed through this area safely?
Well, you can stealth through it, but I mean, I was too lazy to, so I just had the wolves chase me.
You just shot the wolves, okay.
And I think you have to find your way to MERYL, but it's kind of tough because it's this top-down section with all these wolves chasing you, potentially. And they're, oh my gosh, you're shooting them. Oh my gosh.
And there's a little baby wolf. Shoot,
puppy!
I think
Why?
the puppy is just to show you where you're supposed to go. I couldn't figure out what it does.
Well, I think it can show. Yeah, it ran underneath. There's little passageways that you have to crawl and go through, but you can't see them necessarily from top down. You get a first person to see it. But anyways, you find your way to MERYL, and she'll. I think I have a different response depending on how you took care of the dogs. But there, obviously, you shot a bunch, so she was like, "I thought you were good with dogs." But if you get in,
that's right, because he says he was a musher before that, right?
Musher, yeah. But you can punch MERYL there, and then hop in a box, and she'll call a dog over to pee on it, and then it'll have the wolf scent on the box. And so if you just walk around the wolves with the box, they think it's one of their pack, so they just like follow it around and like have a little heart icon near them.
Huh.
And then after that, you get MERYL, for some reason. I guess she says that when Mantis was in her mind, she was able to see where these mines were placed. I don't know. It seems kind of weird. But anyway, she shows you the path through the minefield, and you can't see them. I don't know if a mine detector will work in this situation.
I think it does. It does? Okay. You're jammed right there, but you can use the thermal goggles to see them.
Okay. Thermal goggles. Okay.
Nice.
But ultimately, Sniper Wolf shoots MERYL in the chest, and she's using MERYL. Sniper Wolf is using MERYL as bait because she wants Snake to come out in the open and try to save her. Using that very typical sniper bait, right? You see in the movies. And so MERYL says, "Hey, leave me. You need to go do your own thing. If you come out here, you're gonna get shot." And I think does Colonel tell you to go pick up a sniper rifle back in the first area?
I think they allude to like needing one, and then Otacon's like, "I think I saw a sniper rifle back in this exact room," like conveniently.
Yeah.
So you're like, "Okay, so this is a big backtrack here." Probably the third time you return to this warehouse, but you can open new doors each time you do.
Yeah.
And now you can finally get the PSG-1 sniper.
Now, in that room where you found the PSG-1 sniper, did anyone else have room controlling Snake while he's laying on the ground? For me, he got turned around, and moving my control stick up was like spinning him. It was so hard to get him to not hit the lasers.
Yeah,
it is, and because when you back up, his feet will hit the wall, and he'll kind of use that as an anchor point or a pivot point. So you kind of have to. It's almost like driving a truck, right? You can't can't back up that truck through a wall. And some games would actually allow you to kind of put the feet through the wall, but yeah, it's tricky to align that. But we did get the PS1 rifle. What do you guys think about the sniper fight? I think it's kind of interesting. There's nothing too special about it, but you're facing off against Sniper Wolf, right?
It was just the sniping there. Even with if you don't use anything, the sniper's pretty shaky, and you got to just kind of guess with Snake's hand movements. But you can use diazepam as a medicine or a drug to steady your aim. But even then, like, sometimes I would just get immediately into position and just be getting to aiming at Sniper Wolf, and she would shoot me. And once you're out of position, it was just kind of like a wash. I was like, all right, just start over.
Yeah.
A couple of times she would shoot me, and then my camera would like rotate 45 degrees.
Yeah.
Get the recoil from getting hit was brutal with both the PSG-1 and the Stinger missiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A good tactic you can use is to just unequip and re-equip it, and you can unequip, like just walk straight up and then re-equip, and it would put you right back aiming straight forward, which is helpful. But even then, like, I would try to do that, and then she would still shoot me as I was getting into position, and then it was just a mess. But once you shoot her once, she'll start moving around to new spots, and as long as you track her and shoot her as she pops up, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's getting that first clean hit off is the most difficult.
Oh.
But ultimately, you do get captured, and you are in this torture chamber, and you see Ocelot, Liquid, and Sniper Wolf there. And I guess this is Ocelot that is going to... He's
interrogating
I actually don't
you.
know why they're interrogating you, like what they're trying to get from you. I don't remember.
At this point, is he trying to get the cards from you for the shutdown sequence for Metal Gear?
That might be.
For Metal Gear? The PAL card, or at least how it works, I think. But
this is super cool because they say, hey, you can give up. So there's two options here. You can give up, and then you go through some changes throughout the game, or you can try to fight it. And he's like, hey, I'll just let you know, if you fight it and you die, that's it, game over. There's no reloads. And then he's like, oh, also, by the way, Snake, it looks like you haven't saved in a while. So, in my situation, I
that's
had
funny.
it, and I think it's really cool to see that. I'm like, oh, man, I really need to get this done then.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a pivotal point for whether or not a main character will live or die.
Oh, who is that?
You don't know? Oh, it's MERYL. I think he says, because they've captured MERYL as well, and he says she's still alive for now. But then he mentions that if you fail, then MERYL will die. And
this is something that hard mode does, or the increased difficulty modes do alter. I think for normal mode, you only have to go through the sequence twice, and then the hard mode like 3 times or something like that.
And I think it's also way harder you have to mash just to stay alive so much.
I think it's on easy mode. He'll shock you 3 times per time you go out there. On normal, 4 times. Hard, 5, and on extreme, 6 or 7. Ooh. And the time he shocks you is longer each time. So I don't think it drains your health any quicker. It's just your arm is tired because you have to.
And so I definitely felt my arm kind of seizing up, right? Kind of get a muscle fatigue, and it was. Kojima knew this, or whoever's making this knew this, because you can get a call from
Naomi.
Is it Naomi? She's like, "Hey, put your controller on your arm, on your bicep." So I did it.
Oh yeah.
They vibrate it, and I don't know. Maybe it was me wanting it to work, but I was actually feeling like, it actually kind of feels a little bit better now. So it was so cool for that sort of a meta game moment there.
You got an arm massage from a polygonal chick.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then, so we skip ahead here to a sequence where Otacon has given me a couple things. He gives me like some ketchup. He gives me a handkerchief. And then we hide under a bed, and one of the guards thinks that we've actually escaped. Mm-hmm. So he opens the door, and then we use that opportunity to punch the guard out, and then we actually did escape. So not too bad.
There's no way to escape that room.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if you saw how I did it, but if you equip the ketchup and then you go prone and you press the action button, you'll actually splatter the ketchup on the ground like blood, and then I think he comes in to check on you, and then you can beat him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's another thing I saw. That was great. And then, man. Cool thing after cool thing here. An item you can pick up is actually a bomb, and then you get a message, and they say, "Snake, you got a bomb in your inventory. You got to throw it away." And sure enough, one of your items, I don't know if it actually adds the bomb at that point or one of your items turns into a bomb. But regardless,
it's when you retrieve your gear. Like it's a safe,
retrieve your gear,
a fail safe in case you get your gear back. Like Ocelot just slapped a bomb in there.
But I guess what I'm curious is, if before you get that call, can you actually see the bomb?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I tossed it before I got the call.
Okay. In any case, it's super cool because you can see the countdown timer, and you toss it and then it explodes. I'm like, gosh, that is so cool.
Yeah. Oh man, repel sequence.
Lobos, you want to walk us through Heinz D here?
Heinz D. Yeah. So they have this.
That's it. That was all we.
That was it.
Moving on.
Well, the Team Foxhound here, who the terrorists have acquired a Hind D Russian helicopter, and you get to the top of the communications tower, and you immediately have to start running away. You have to find this rope, and then you start rappelling down the side of the building, and it's a little mini game kind of as you're going down that you can push off. Yeah, you can push off the helicopter shooting at you. This is a big action sequence, and you get to the bottom and. Eventually work your way, finding a Stinger missile, or the Stinger missile launcher, and here we are facing off against the Hind D. So yeah, and it's Liquid Snake,
fight.
The leader of Foxhound in this case.
Oh, he's piloting it, right?
Yeah.
In terms of fighting it, it's not really that difficult. You just kind of stay out of the way of his missiles. A lot of times, after about like half health, he'll start going below deck, and then he'll come up to try to ambush you, and so you kind of have to wait. You have to look around to see where he's going to pop up and then shoot him. And then I guess at the very end, he does one final maneuver where he drops this cluster of bombs and tries to kill you, and then crashes. And he says a very great line. You guys remember the line?
Oh, you mean Snake? What Snake says?
No, I think Liquid just says, "Snake!"
Oh. Right, because anytime you die... I think Snake has a good line here, too. Oh, I forget. He had a silly line, some one-liner. But yeah, anytime you die in this game, it'll go and show the logo, and somebody will be calling you on the codec and go, "Snake! Snake! Snake!" Because they're worried about you.
Yeah, they are worried about you. I appreciate that, and throughout the series, they'll definitely play around with that snake stuff. Oh man, on to the next boss fight.
It's boss rush time.
It is. And actually, the last couple hours of the game really are just kind of boss fight after boss fight. But we are now going... actually, let's talk a little bit about the key that we got. Alamaxia, we got a key, right?
The PAL key.
What is that key used for? The PAL key, yeah.
The PAL key is used to arm or rather disarm the nuclear strike capabilities of Metal Gear. And there are 3 PAL keys, and we only have 1. So we're trying to kind of go around and like find out like if we only have 1 key and we know that Foxhound has the launch strike codes, how do we stop it? So we're trying to get to Metal Gear and stop it.
Yeah, and very, very important information about the PAL codes is they can only be used once. You can either activate Metal Gear or you can deactivate. But it's basically a one-way toggle. We're going to get to that because that's a very important note a little bit later. But I guess then we move into a foundry after killing Sniper Wolf. And you get a little emotional scene with Otacon. He's like, well, why did you have to kill her?
Yeah, I did want to mention that you have this sniper duel again with Sniper Wolf, who is a really good shot, and she's quick, so it can be tough. But you can also just hide out of line of sight and use the Nikita auto-controlled, remote-controlled missile and just fly missiles all the way to her.
That is not an honorable
Which I
duel,
did.
my friend.
I did, and yeah, it's great. Look, I did it.
We haven't talked about Master at all.
No, we
haven't.
haven't.
Master here. By the way, I'm not sure if it's intentional, but Master has a very similar sounding voice to another character in the game. We're going to find out soon enough, but I don't know if that was intentional. What do you guys think?
I believe it was intentional. I think they threw that in there as if you're a very observant gamer, then you're going to start to see the weave of the story a little earlier.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to get to Master in a little bit here. But we're doing Vulcan Raven's second fight. So I think all the bosses, except for maybe Psycho Mantis, have 2 boss fights, right?
I guess you could consider Ocelot the torture chamber his second fight, so yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay. And this one is, I guess there's a couple different ways to do this. I started out using the Nikita missile. It's basically, call it like a 4x4 grid of boxes. Oh, honestly, it's very close to Bomberman, I'd say.
He is kind of like Bomberman, yeah.
Yeah. But you've got a guy with this huge Gatling gun after you. And, and so he's got a very wide cone of fire. And so you can't stand anywhere in front of that. So you kind of have to sneak up behind him. Or there's some alternative ways. I started out using the Nikita missile, but that was kind of unreliable because he would actually sometimes notice it and shoot it. So I ultimately ended up placing C4 down at the cross sections, and then as he crossed over them, blowing up the C4. Let's see how you guys did it. We'll start with Alamaxia.
Claymores.
Okay,
I would back myself into a corner, and every entrance point that was basically not in my field of vision had a Claymore in it.
Had a Claymore.
And I had an escape route, but for the most part, those were able to keep him occupied.
Yep, I did Claymores and Nikita, so I just throw down Claymores, and then while waiting, I would chunk Nikita missiles at him.
Yeah. And, it's almost a moment of reverence between Vulcan and Snake at the end. I think that's a theme that happens quite often where, there's a Vulcan over here, and he's like, hey, you're a snake, and we respect each other. And I think there's another mention of a fox.
You're no dog. You're a wolf.
Yeah.
It's a Sniper Wolf, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of themes here. So far, things have been maybe a little crazy, but pretty straightforward. But now we're starting to get into like the Mission Impossible backstabbing and who's actually in control and who's on your team. Because we just got a message that Naomi, one of the research specialists that was helping us out, and previously gave us some injections to help cool our body or prevent our body from freezing up. we realize she might not actually be on the up and up, right?
Yeah, plus every time we ask Colonel about more details for stuff, he just responds with groups of dots, just,
Yeah.
And you're like, what are you hiding, Colonel?
Oh, the
He's
number,
like, I can't
the
tell
number
you.
of times Snake is like, Colonel, this is the last time. Are you hiding anything? Colonel's like, no, I'm not hiding anything.
Yeah.
And that happens like 6 or 7 times.
By the way, this whole thing was set up to be just one more mission, right? He gets pulled back in for one more mission, and it's fitting that like all his pretty much everyone he trusts betrays him in one way or another, right?
Well,
But
the way he was brought into this mission was pretty hostile because he was kind of relaxing at his home in Alaska, and he was basically soldiers raided his home and brought him in forcefully and was like, "You're going to do this mission."
Yeah. All right, so now we got a cool little dialogue between Snake and Ocelot. They're talking about nuking. I think they want to nuke. Was it China or was it Russia? I don't remember.
They
One of
were
the
going
two.
to nuke Russia, but then they switched it to this kind of more remote place in China that's a nuclear test site.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess you find out a little bit more about the PAL, right? I think.
Yeah, right here, Otacon has been like hacking and to figure out more about the PAL code and how it works, and he gets into Kenneth Baker's secret files, and this is where you learn how it, I think, can only be used once, and the fact that the one key is all 3 keys.
What? That's
What? Yeah, it
Except
was,
for in terms of gameplay, that was not super fun to deal with. And we skipped through that completely. But okay, so real quick, Alamaxia, why don't you walk us through in like 30 seconds what the 3 keys are and how you get them?
All right, so the 3 keys, they have 3 different temperature states: room temperature, cold temperature, and hot temperature. So we're in room temperature right now, so you can just put the room temperature key in the laptop and you're good. Then you must go to an extremely cold place to make the key cold. You go back to Vulcan Raven's boss room, make the key cold, run back here, put it in, and then you got to make the key hot. So then you got to run past Vulcan Raven's boss room, up the 2 elevators, back into the foundry, let the key warm up, get back down here, put the key in, and you are good to, you think you're stopping the nuclear strike.
Yeah. By the way, nice timing, my friend, because you finished explaining that right when we cut to that. So very good, very good.
shape memory alloy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just love that. It says detonation code activated, and so it's like, no, why? I deactivated it.
Ready for launch.
Yeah, it's so good. And then you get a call from Master, right? Or is it?
Your
Liquid
trusted
Master.
master. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. By the way, Master looks a lot like Guile from Street Fighter.
He
I'd
just kind of
say.
looked like Guile here.
Yeah.
But no, he played you like a fiddle. For who knows how long.
A quick shake of the hair and a take off of the glasses, and whoa, you're a completely different person, right?
Dear brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
He's
yeah,
talking
they
the whole time
really
about-
started going deep into
Yeah.
into the blood relation between Solid and Liquid in this, and how they were like clones of Big Boss. And as we fight Liquid later on, there's going to be a lot more deeper explanation of why they are strong and why they are who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Did you like
And
my
then I guess
sunglasses?
he shuts the gate on you, or he puts you in the basically lockdown in the control room, and so he fills it with gas. I put on my gas mask, and I think Otacon actually hacks the door and allows you to open.
You have to call him because I was like, at that point on my replay, I was like, oh yeah, I think I just wait here and Otacon helps. And I just sat here, and my oxygen ran out, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I need to call. And then, yeah, I had to call.
All right, and then we're moving on to yet another boss fight. We're fighting the first phase of Metal Gear Rex. I guess, actually, I was watching Lobos' stream. If you talk to Otacon, he actually tells you how to destroy Metal Gear Rex here. I actually figured it out just because if you use the Stinger missiles, there's a lock-on point. So I'm like, okay, you just got to shoot that over and over and over.
Yeah.
Lobos, why don't you walk me through the strategy here? Because I feel like maybe there's a better way to do it, but I found a way and I stuck with it.
Well, what I typically do is he'll have different attacks based on your proximity, right? If you're right under him, he'll stomp. If you're right in front of him, he'll either do a laser beam or maybe like a gun volley straight up the middle. And then if you're far away, he'll shoot a volley of missiles at you. So typically what I would do is stay right at his missile range, and as soon as I see him start to shoot him, he kind of hunkers down to fire those missiles. I'll run in, that'll dodge the missiles, and then as soon as the third missile goes out, I look up and I shoot, and then I start working my way out. He does a close attack, and then just kind of rinse and repeat. But you have to aim at this like kind of circular disc that is the way that he can see outside of Metal Gear, like without, through...
I think it's called like a Radeon or something.
Radeon, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Radeon XT 9700. And you overheat his graphics card, and then he has to open up his cockpit, and that'll kind of
expose him.
Expose
so you
him,
can
exactly.
deal with the threat there. The way I fought this guy is I just spam chaff grenades. So I'd throw a chaff grenade, which stops his missiles, and then I could get one shot off of the a Stinger missile. Ooh. Or Stinger missile.
Yep.
And so I would just basically spam that. And it kind of worked for me. It was kind of messy. I probably went through 20 chaff grenades, but it worked out in the end. How about you, Alamaxia? Any differing strategies?
I think I did kind of the same that Lobos did. I stayed at about that medium range, and when he fired missiles, dodge the missiles and fire up at the Raydome. The Raydome, that's what it's called.
Raydome, yeah.
But on the second phase, I don't think the chaff worked as well. I think you could use...
Yeah, it didn't.
I think you could use stun, though, and that would stop him from
using
that makes sense.
Cool.
Yeah.
Machine gun. He would still fire the missiles, I think, but the machine gun, I think, would stop firing.
Nice.
But
If anybody listening has played Metal Gear Solid 2, the kind of final sequence to that, you end up fighting kind of like a lot of similar fights to this. So I remember I was really frustrated the first time fighting these mechs, but you kind of get into a pattern, and now I find it kind of fun because it's like a little repeating pattern, and it's fun to master, I guess.
Yeah. And then after that, a lot of things are happening here, but he's explaining more about your genetic code, and he's convinced that they took all of the recessive genes of Big Boss and gave them to Liquid, and all the dominant genes to Solid Snake, and that's why Solid Snake's the better fighter, which actually turns out not to be true, as uncovered later on in one of the codex. But yeah, he's just, he's kind of salty. He's got a big chip on his shoulder, and he's got something to prove. And I guess this is a time we are going to have to do it, but not before getting a call from the Colonel saying that this, what is it, the Secretary of Defense is going to nuke Alaska or something?
Yeah,
like
well, he's going to nuke that
Shout
because
out to Moses.
You got to get rid of that nuclear threat, right? And they're not giving in to the terrorist demands, so, well, time to nuke them back. So they're going to do like a, our base-penetrating nuclear missile just to
right.
clean up everything and everyone.
They were going to use a cover-up story as it was a nuclear, basically storage facility, and a nuke there blew up. So they were just going to use that as their cover-up.
Yep.
But there is so much story and cutscenes that happens between that last part of Metal Gear Rex and the next fight here. So much. I think was at this point that they talk about that they were octuplets, and there is multiple of these experiments, and these two specifically, their other 6 brothers were killed in the fetus in the womb, and they were the 2 that lived and survived, and I think that's why Liquid has such that big chip on his shoulder, because Solid Snake is the one that killed Big Boss, their father, and Liquid's like, no, that should have been me. You took that from me.
Yeah, I think the experiment was the Genova experiment. Is that right?
I think that's Final Fantasy VII.
Right. Final Fantasy. Sheesh. No, I know. But it is very similar to that, right?
There's a lot of gene manipulation going on here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what was really funny? I mentioned previously that I hadn't played all the way through this game, and I remember Metal Gear Solid 4, the end fight there.
Oh, yes.
Is basically you and Liquid on top of Metal Gear, and so it was very interesting to see that that's kind of how this game ends up. And I'm like, oh man, I guess it probably would have been a lot more impactful for the end of MGS4 to have the same sort of fight.
I think they did it for 2 also.
Oh, okay. Well,
so I wonder if it's just kind of one of their tropes.
Maybe. The interesting thing about this one, so it's all hand-to-hand, and it's pretty easy. You kind of have to dodge some of his attacks and counter in the same way that you had to dodge Raiden. Oh, I mean Gray Fox.
Whoa.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got chip on my shoulder now. But I guess at the end you have to throw him off the Metal Gear to actually kill him, or else he'll just regain a little bit of
he
health.
regens, and so you have to toss him off the ledge when his health is 0 or whatever.
Yeah. And then we're now... Who are we fighting here?
This is Liquid again, who you think is dead for the second time. Nope. So now he's in a Jeep, and you're in a Jeep, and you're on a turret, shooting soldiers and shooting Liquid. And, man, this is just heckin' hard to aim. I ended up using... if you hold down the first person, you can get kind of a better view.
Oh, but, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, but you still get
easier.
Yeah, you'll still get jiggled around if you get hit, and it's like annoying. It's a mess, but I made it through. It's kind of
a cool sequence, though.
Yeah,
it's before you get to this, you're stopping at security stations, blasting some barrels on some bad guys, and Meryl's driving, and you get to the end of the tunnel, and you guys crash.
Yep.
That's if Meryl survived.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, wait, what if she doesn't survive?
Right.
What happens then?
Who do you think gets swapped in Meryl's place?
Oh, Otacon?
It's Otacon, so you get the...
Is it really?
Yes, it is!
Oh, my gosh.
And you have this whole ending sequence where you're riding off with Otacon on a snowmobile, and it's so romantic.
Oh, it's so romantic.
It's great. I love it. That was my first playthrough. I accidentally let Meryl die.
And
here we got the
special item that you get for beating the game differs as well. We'll talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Bandana? Okay, we'll talk about that. But first, Fox, die! So we haven't chatted about this, but I guess there's a... gosh, I don't even know if I can explain it. There's some sort... Go for it.
Okay.
Alamaxia, please.
So... Fox Die is a virus that was artificially created by geneticists, and Dr. Naomi Hunter is the one that introduced it into the whole mix here. She injected Solid Snake with the Fox Die virus and had him get into contact with all these genetic soldiers because this virus was written specifically to target specific people. And when it actually targeted them and affected them, they died of a heart attack-like effect. Basically, all of their blood cells committed suicide. Their heart cells commit suicide. And that is the Fox Die virus. It is out there specifically to destroy Foxhound.
Oh, okay. And it is implied that because Liquid died of it, it is implied that Snake is infected with it. And I think they even say, like, when am I going to die or something like that. And he's like, I'm just going to live as long as possible. We'll figure that out later. Something like that, right?
Yeah, there's very much
figure it out.
What Snake finally kind of becomes human in a way, and he has a reason to live now, not for someone else, but for himself. And that's kind of a really big theme that they try to push in this game is you might feel like there is some kind of fate or predestination for you, but it's up to you to determine what that is, and it's up to you to live each day. It isn't up to someone else to live it.
Yeah, that's cool. And and with that, that's the end of Metal Gear. I feel like we need like a little timer to like slam down and say, we finished there.
Done. Yeah.
Gosh, that was
definitely
a lot to chat about.
We didn't touch on. There was
like everything.
Yeah. The climb up the tower, getting chased by those guards for like 30 levels.
That's a mess. We didn't talk about who Gray Fox is, really. I mean, by the end, and how he comes in during the Metal Gear fight. It's just, there's too much stuff.
The relationship between Gray Fox and Naomi.
Yeah.
There's so much here, but that's going to have to wait for a 5-hour-long podcast.
Yeah.
Jeez. So yeah, we did actually already watch the Patreon little credit screen, but again, I wanted to thank everyone for supporting us on Patreon. If you like the show and you want to help support future content, please head over to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Gaming Show to learn more. And again, we got a cool little goal there. If we manage to hit 25 Patreon supporters, we're going to play Earthbound. It's going to be a 2-hour-long episode, and I think it's going to be even harder to talk about than this one. So
I mean, that's a big JRPG, so yeah.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah. So what are we going to be playing next?
Well, this one's going to be great, and I want to talk a little bit about the hero's journey a little bit, because I think throughout fiction, there's a couple pivotal stories out there that when you look at the hero's journey, you're like, this is a perfect example of the hero's journey. And in this particular game, we're going to be looking at the hero's journey of someone in the Star Wars setting. And if I were to, just with that information, who would you guys say? Like, who would you pick as epitomizing the hero's journey throughout Star Wars?
It's Kyle Katarn!
Absolutely. Kyle Katarn is my first choice as well. He's in the good old game Dark Forces. Star Wars Dark Forces is the next game we're going to be playing in September. A mercenary for hire who started out with the Empire and went over to the Republic. That was a great pull. I wasn't sure you guys were going to get that one, but...
Yeah, I mean, obviously, dude. I don't know who else would even pop into my mind other than Kyle Katarn.
Yeah, and now unfortunately he's not a Jedi in the first one, but there's still some cool stuff, so it'll be a great episode. We're going to head back to the PC there. By the way, was this our first PlayStation game? I think it was.
Maybe so.
I'm sure. Yeah. It was cool. It's
so,
good.
yeah.
What a fitting game. I think one may look at Metal Gear Solid as one of the most pivotal games on that platform, so...
Definitely one of the biggest.
I was super excited to play this through with you guys. There's a lot to this game, a lot of things to experience, a lot of codec calls I'm sure I missed. I'm sure a lot of little interactions between systems I missed, and I definitely feel like I could go back through and kind of try some new things, different routes,
for sure.
codec calls, maybe try giving up on the torture scene as opposed... Alamaxia, why don't you walk us through the different items you get and what they do? Depending on the outcome of the torture scene.
So, depending on the outcome of the torture scene, you get 1 or 2 items. If you win the torture scene and you save MERYL, then whenever you get on the snowmobile, she reaches down into a little side pack. She's like, "Here's a bandana. What's this?" And you get the bandana at the end of the game. And whenever you play a new game, kind of a new game plus, the bandana will give you infinite ammo.
Yeah,
which is wonderful.
Nice.
But if she dies, and you kind of escape with Otacon. You remember what Otacon's special item that he was kind of using throughout the whole game was?
Yeah, the Octo Camouflage.
Kyle Katarn. I mean, stealth camouflage. That's what I meant.
So if you escape with him, he gives you the active camouflage, and then you can play through the next game just complete stealthed.
That's so cool.
Way better ending, if you ask
me. The only things that I think really find you are if you walk over a puddle and you make a splashy noise, they're like, "Oh, what was that noise?"
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Or your footprints in the snow. That was something that we didn't talk about. The enemies will actually notice your footprints and follow them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of great stuff there. I guess I need to get stealth camouflage with infinite ammo and just kind of run around and shoot everyone. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, sadly, we have reached the end credits of this episode, and we really wanted to thank everyone for listening to us on the podcast or watching us on YouTube.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and download our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Apple, Google, whatever your choice is.
If you have any feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email at SaturdayMorningGamingShow.com at gmail.com, or just head over to SaturdayMorningGamingShow.com and use our contact form. We got a lot of other great stuff there for you.
Absolutely, and there's even some more content that will be on that website that is not just this podcast. So if this podcast is your primary means of getting content, please consider visiting the site for some other cool projects we got working on here. Yeah. Again, we do have a Discord. I'd love to have people come in and share their experiences with the games, maybe play games alongside of us, maybe just kind of stop in and chat retro games in general. So there's the links to that, of course, in the our Twitter page. And, of course, if you have the ability to rate us on a platform that has ratings for podcasts, we'd love to have your rating there. I guess, man, that's going to be it. Oh, I guess we should probably give a special shout-out to TechnoAxe for much of the music on this episode.
For Saturday morning gaming, I'm Alamaxia.
I'm Lobos.
And I'm the Fat Wizard. We'll see you in September with Dark Forces for the PC.